I'm Brian Westbrook at GeekWire Studios. Thanks for watching. We're having a conversation now with David Ganesh. He's the Executive Vice President of the Cloud Center of Excellence at Capgemini. David, I want to talk to you about the value of public cloud. First of all, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Looking forward to the discussion.
We want to get right into it. How should an organization that is spending too much on public cloud turn that into value for their businesses? This is the question everyone's asking, yeah?
Yeah. So firstly, it's very common for organizations these days to have escalating cloud costs. That is, after all, the business model of the cloud service providers. However, we are now seeing an increasing number of organizations struggling to find the spare money to invest in new business transforming initiatives simply because of their high cloud spend. Now, one solution to this is to optimize that cloud spend through practices like finops and use the savings released by that to drive more value. And there's a real example I can talk about. There is a customer of ours that has escalating cloud costs. The hyperscaler costs are in the region of about 100 million a year, and it's taken up so much of their budget that they actually don't have the money to invest in transformation initiatives. So we worked with them and the hyperscaler to come up with an idea where, through adopting FinOps practices, we can save money on that 100 million a year, in fact 20%, and so releasing 20 million a year, actually taking the risk on delivering that 20 million a year saving, provided they reinvest that with us to deliver the transformation programs they had to stop because they ran out of budget. In that way, the customer is still spending 100 million a year, but actually getting a lot more value than they would have got otherwise. So the key to this is to use FinOps as a way of releasing those savings. And FinOps covers a whole range of activities, from simple procedural ones where you could switch off instances, through to using the cost management tools that often come with cloud that will identify savings opportunities, through to making changes in the applications themselves, and these are more complex challenges. But probably the biggest challenge with making FinOps work, in our experience, is that those that consume cloud within a customer organization are not those that pay the bill. And that means that often, to get FinOps to work properly, we really have to align ways of working and how people are measured within organizations.
So let's talk about that for a second. How do you align those two? You're talking about cloud savings and FinOps working together to kind of fuel each other, if you will. How do you get the business on board with this plan?
So it really comes down to seeing the bigger picture and to drive change from the top. So the execs within the organization, the C-suite, really need to understand that there is untapped value that's being eroded because of the excessive cloud spend. And it's important for departmental heads, for example, to be able to drive that change through their organization. So those people that are spinning up cloud instances but not switching them off are actually measured on their ability to use cloud efficiently. And this is quite a complex undertaking, but one that can be made to work, provided the organization at the top is fully committed to it.
Now let's talk about transformation. How would an organization transform to deliver these new business imperatives, but they don't have the funds? You talked about FinOps. Why would they go to the public cloud if they don't have the funds to deliver this economically?
Yeah, that's a very good question, particularly in these days where many organizations are challenged. Again, let me illustrate this with another example. And what I'm going to talk about is something that we call self-funding cloud transformation. So one of our clients is a bank, a conventional bank that wants to become a more digital bank. And by this, they want to be able to enter new geographies very quickly. They want to be able to launch new products and services much quicker. And if they don't do this, it's actually a threat to their existence. However, the challenge for them was that they had a very heavy investment in legacy technology. That legacy had very high costs associated with running it, and they just couldn't find a headroom in their budget to do the transformation. So the way we addressed this was to work very closely with the bank to look at what a future digital bank would look like and what its technology running costs would be like compared to the current situation. And what we were able to find were that not only would that future state give them a much more agile organisation and deliver those outcomes I mentioned earlier, but it would also have a substantially lower running cost. So we then came up with the idea of saying, we've got a high running cost now, there's a lower running cost in the future for a better state. Is there a way that we could use those future savings to drive some of the transformation that was needed? So what we, in effect, did with a customer was to create a transformation pot. Think of it as a source of money, where through some financial engineering, we were able to pull forward some of those future savings. We also re-engineered some of their applications so it run natively on the cloud, and that made them more efficient. The hyperscalers themselves were able to put in substantial amounts of investment because clearly this was driving workloads to them. And we were also able to adopt AI and automation to lower the cost of delivering the change and lower the cost of delivering ongoing services. Essentially, all of these elements created a transformation pot, as I mentioned, and we were able to use this pot to fund the transformation projects to deliver that target state. So this is a real example of how an organisation really working with a partner was able to deliver a change that it would just simply otherwise not have been able to afford.
Yeah, lots of great examples there of really just sort of bringing all the tools in your belt to the table to then put money back into the project so that you can then further leverage those savings in increased transformation, sort of a bit of a snowball effect, if you will. Yeah.
You're spot on, Brian. I mean, what we find with a number of these projects is that as we move them to the target state, it releases more savings, which can then be again reinvested. Absolutely, we call it a flywheel. Same thing as a snowball.
Yeah, exactly. Whichever analogy you use, the idea is you're saving money and bringing more workloads to the clouds. Let's talk about sovereign cloud solutions. They're emerging from hyperscalers. How are these end user organizations really responding to the advances? Because, of course, the goal here is to unlock even more workloads for public cloud.
Absolutely. And this we see as being a huge area of growth worldwide. Now, sovereign cloud effectively provides a solution to some of the challenges that nation states and organizations within those nation states find in terms of data residency, regulatory and security requirements. Now these requirements actually vary quite a lot by nation states, and within nation states, the organizations themselves. Now, this is something that the cloud service providers have been able to observe and have responded with a number of solutions that have entered the market in recent months. So AWS have launched their dedicated local zone. Microsoft have Azure Local and Stack Hub. Google have brought out their Google Distributed Cloud, both a connected version and an air-gapped version, which is separated from the rest of the Google services. Oracle have bought out the Oracle dedicated region. And we expect these offerings to evolve substantially in the coming months and years to really provide the capability to release more workloads onto cloud. What we're seeing the end user organizations doing, and these are typically in in highly regulated sectors like public sector, defence, or
Healthcare.
financial services. We're seeing that they are very closely examining these solutions. I gave some examples earlier, and we see in 2025 a lot of this sort of evaluation and running of proof of concepts, and we expect the real scale moves to sovereign cloud to occur from 2026 onwards.
I think it's going to be a big topic that we're going to be following very closely. Thank you for helping us along our journey to the cloud and as we figure out which workloads work best in which environments. David Ganesh, Executive Vice President at the Cloud Center of Excellence at Capgemini. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios. Thanks for watching.